What is a hero? Is it a knight in shining armor? A warrior who defeats evil and is praised by the world? Google defines a hero as someone admired for courage, noble qualities, or outstanding achievements. But in stories, heroes are usually seen. They're celebrated. Their victories are remembered. Their names are sung. But what about the heroes no one thanks? The ones who suffer in silence. The ones whose greatest acts are misunderstood or never known at all. Today, we talk about an unsung hero, a man whose pain shaped the future of the One Piece world, a man who lived for others and died without recognition. The greatest hero in One Piece, Bartholomew Kuma. Bartholomew Kuma first appears in chapter 233, introduced as one of the 7 warlords of the sea. But his introduction isn't heroic, it's unsettling. He stands in Merijoa, the Holy Land, the home of the celestial dragons. Beside him is Don Quixote do Flamingo, a man we later learn is a celestial dragon. And in this same chapter, we meet the 5 elders for the very first time. One of them was responsible for the current state of Kuma's life. Because of this, it feels clear that Oda was very intentional with Kuma's introduction, planting seeds for a story he would tell much later. This isn't a coincidence. Oda places Kuma at the very center of power, surrounded by gods who rule the world. And yet, Kuma says almost nothing. We're told only 2 things. He's a warlord, and his former bounty was 296 million berries. That's it. No personality, no emotion, no humanity. It would take over 200 chapters before we would begin to understand him. When we meet back up with Kuma, he is sent to Dulabark to warn Gecko Moria about a growing threat: Monkey D. Luffy and the Straw Hat Pirates. By this point, the Straw Hats had defeated a warlord, infiltrated a government island, and survived a buster call. When Kuma arrives, he encounters Perona and Nami and asks a now iconic question. If you were to go on vacation, where would you go? Perona unknowingly describes Mihawk's Island. In the blink of an eye, Kuma sends her there. This massive, emotionless pirate moves with terrifying speed, leaving everyone in shock. This is when Kuma is framed as a villain, a machine, a weapon, a monster who only exists to obey orders. We learn the truth soon after. Kuma is no longer fully human. He is a cyborg, more machine than man. So when the world government orders him to kill the Straw Hats, he accepts without hesitation. And honestly, it would have been easy. The pawpaw fruit gives Kuma godlike power, the ability to repel anything: attacks, pain, even people. The Straw Hats are completely outmatched until one man steps forward: Roronoa Zoro. He offers his life, his body, his future. He takes all of Luffy's pain, giving us one of the most iconic moments in the series, where nothing happened. Kuma disappears, the Straw Hats survive, but fate isn't finished with them yet. Short, intense, impactful. That's how I would describe the Sabaody Archipelago arc. It marks a major turning point in the story and begins to reveal that there's more to Kuma than meets the eye. At the arc's climax, the Straw Hats are completely overwhelmed. They face a Marine Admiral, a high-ranking Marine officer, a warlord of the sea, and multiple pacifista clones. For the first time, Luffy truly understands they cannot win. He orders the crew to escape and regroup in 3 days, but it's futile. One by one, his friends vanish before his eyes. Unable to stop Kuma, Luffy breaks down, helpless, defeated. Kuma's final words to him are chilling. "We will never meet again. Farewell." And just like that, the Straw Hat Pirates are erased. Or so we thought. We know the truth. The Straw Hats survived, each training for 2 years to grow stronger. But this time skip also changes how we view Kuma, because we learn something shocking. Kuma protected the Thousand Sunny for the entire 2-year time skip. So why would the man who separated the crew protect their ship? Soon after, we discover that Kuma was once part of the Revolutionary Army. That explains some of it, but raises even more questions. Why become a pirate? Why become a warlord? Why submit to the world government? Nothing added up. And although the answers would come in just 8 chapters, we would have to wait over 500 chapters just to reach them. The Egghead Arc, the first arc of the final saga. And it would give us everything we would expect from One Piece. Lore reveals, massive fights, world-shaking consequences. But its flashback was special because it finally revealed the truth behind Bartholomew Kuma, a man long labeled a tyrant. With the knowledge from his backstory, Kuma may be the most influential character in the Straw Hat's journey. This backstory doesn't just explain his actions, it redefines his entire character. A life of pain. Kuma is born in the Sobe Kingdom in the West Blue to a human mother and a buccaneer father. They live peacefully in the church until the world government enslaves them. The reason? Kuma's father is a buccaneer, a nearly extinct race feared by the government. Soon after arriving in the Holy Land, Kuma's mother dies, and it devastates him. Kuma nearly loses the will to live until his father tells him a story. The story of sun god Nika, a warrior who would one day free the oppressed, a god of laughter, a symbol of hope. Kuma doesn't know if Nika is real, but the hope it instills in him is. And that hope saves him. Not long after, his father is killed right in front of him. Kuma is only 4 years old. And yet, that story of Nika becomes his anchor. 5 years later, Kuma finds himself at God Valley. The Celestial Dragons are hosting their native hunting competition, choosing a country and slaughtering its people for sport. It's horrific. On the island, he meets 2 slaves who would become like family to him, Ivankov and Ginny. Their efforts would disrupt the activities of the Celestial Dragons by drawing the attention of the greatest pirates of the era to the island, effectively giving birth to the God Valley incident. During the chaos, Kuma eats the pawpaw fruit and saves over 500 people, 2 of them being Eris and her son, Marshall D. Teach, a man whose actions in the future would lead to the war at Marine Ford. Kuma eventually returns to the Sobe Kingdom with Ginny and Ivankov. Free at last. Ivankov leaves, Ginny stays. Kuma becomes a pastor like his father and uses his power to take the pain of the sick and elderly. But there's a cost. That pain must be endured by someone. So, every week, when no one is watching, Kuma takes it all onto himself. He becomes the bearer of their suffering. And this is what defines Kuma. A man with every reason to seek revenge, who instead chooses compassion. But even a man who chooses compassion can become angry. In Kuma's case, it was when the Sobe kingdom had been taken over by a tyrannical king who had been put in power under the orders of the world government. King Bikori wanted to separate the poorer regions of the kingdom so that they would pay less of a heavenly tribute. This act of injustice angered Kuma because his community was part of it. People with livelihoods and family were about to be in serious trouble. So Kuma protests and stands up for his people, and he is thrown in prison almost immediately along with Jinny. But in a twist of fate, the revolutionary army would find themselves in the Sobe kingdom, rescuing those who had been imprisoned by King Bikori. Kuma would reunite with Ivankov and be introduced to a future lifelong friend that he had admired for years. Monkey D. Dragon, the leader of the revolutionary army. A man who, like Kuma, had been shaped by the evil carried out by the world government and had experienced the atrocities committed at God Valley. He decided to create an organization that would directly oppose the world government and free those nations who were crying out for help. Kuma had read about him in the newspaper for years, so to finally meet the man was a surreal moment. Was this man Nika? No. He would have to wait a couple of years before he could see the real thing. With the offer of his dreams, Kuma joins the revolutionary army and becomes one of the top officers, playing an important role in the liberation of many nations. Jinny would join as well, becoming the commander of the Eastern forces. This was the life that Kuma had dreamed of. He had become the hero who saved the downtrodden and suffering. But as the saying goes, all good things must come to an end. Jinny is captured by the celestial dragons and is experimented on, and in the process catches a deadly disease. When she escapes, she is on death's door. With the loss of her strength, she makes her way back to the Sobe kingdom. She manages to say her last goodbye to Kuma over transponder snare. And in a tragic scene, Kuma teleports back to the Sobe kingdom, where he finds Jinny's body in the church. He is broken. Another one of his loved ones killed by the hands of the world government. But Jinny was not alone. The villagers tell Kuma that Jinny arrived with a baby, her daughter. What he does next would be surprising for some characters, but not for Kuma, because Kuma doesn't turn to hatred. Even with all the emotions stirring inside of him, he raises Bonnie, a child who isn't even his biological daughter. He raises Bonnie, not by blood, but by love. And so he raises Bonnie with the help of the community, and they share many happy memories together. However, disaster strikes again, as Bonnie seems to have been infected with the same disease that had killed her mother. While all of this is happening, King Bikori returns, trying to carry out his evil plans. Kuma is yet again faced with tragedy, but he proves again why he is my favorite character in One Piece. With a righteous anger, he storms the castle and takes down Bikori in one swift motion. The incident was dubbed the one-man revolution of the Sobe kingdom. The world government would manipulate the news and report Kuma as a tyrant who had taken over the Sobe kingdom. Kuma could not care about the article and focuses on finally finishing off King Bikori, who somehow survived his last encounter with Kuma. He deals with him accordingly and then spends countless days and weeks searching for a way to cure his daughter. Until Dragon tells him of the genius government scientist, Dr. Vegapunk, who might be able to save her. And he can. But it will come at a price. Vegapunk wants to study Kuma's body in order to create the perfect protector for citizens around the globe, pacifistas. But once the government gets word of what's going on, they take it a step further. Kuma is given a choice: her life or his humanity. He accepts without hesitation. He gives up his will, his memories, his freedom, becoming a weapon for the very system that destroyed him, so that his daughter can live. This is not strength. This is love. So as Kuma slowly begins to lose himself, we see him observe the actions of the future pirate king, Monkey D. Luffy. He sees him grow up and sail the seas with his crew, all from a distance. All the while, Bonnie searches for her father, becoming a pirate along the way. But they cannot meet as a part of the agreement he had with the world government. At Sabaody, Kuma gets to see Bonnie one last time before completely losing himself. And it is also where he witnesses something he never thought that he would see in his lifetime. Luffy had laid hands on a celestial dragon, a crime that had not been committed for hundreds of years. Who was this Straw Hat boy? Whoever he was special, and Kuma noticed that. So much so that he would step in and save the Straw Hats from the Marines. His thoughts before sending Luffy away to Amazon Lily were, someday you will save the world. Actively putting his faith in Luffy to bring about a future where Bonnie will be happy. We all know what happened at Sabaody, but with all this new information, instead of viewing it as a tragedy, we see it as a blessing in disguise. This intervention would help the Straw Hats reach new heights of strength required to continue their journey, making him one of the most influential figures in the Straw Hats' journey. Shortly after, Kuma returns to Vegapunk's lab and discusses the actions of the Straw Hats with Vegapunk. Luffy had moved Kuma so much that he believed that if there was someone comparable to Nika in his lifetime, it would be him. He would be the hero that would save the world. So he requests that Vegapunk program him to protect the Straw Hats ship until they return. His last act of guidance on the Straw Hats journey. With orders from the world government, Dr. Vegapunk is to take away Kuma's free will, effectively making him a tool for their cause. As Vegapunk makes the necessary preparations, Kuma cannot help but ask himself this question. I wonder how many people I have troubled. And Vegapunk responds with, troubling others. Indeed, to live is to cause others trouble. Kuma's life flashes before his eyes as he remembers his parents, his friends, Jenny, Dragon, Ivankov, and finally, Bonnie. He remembers all the hardship that he had to endure and all the pain he had experienced. But all he could say was thank you. In his final moments, all he could be was grateful to those he had shared his life with. With tears pouring out of his eyes, Vegapunk says, your death will be trouble for everyone who has ever loved you. Kuma, you are a hero to Bonnie and to everyone. Kuma's last words, please wish Bonnie a happy 10th birthday. Kuma thought Nika was a legend, but that story gave him hope, and that hope carried him through hell. Even in death, he passed that hope on to Bonnie, and through her, that hope became real. Hope became power. Bartholomew Kuma was never a tyrant. He was a father, a martyr, a silent guardian, a man who saved the world without ever asking to be remembered. A father of one, a hero to all. The greatest hero in One Piece, Bartholomew Kuma.